Did you know that there are people associated with the far left that don't like Jews? Yes, it's true. And it's one of the most frustrating things to me because I get inundated with messages from people who only ever want to talk about Jews. It's really, really annoying. There are a million plus one things happening in this world. I don't need to constantly be reminded that Israel exists. It's been a long-standing conflict. I get it. What's really bothering me, though, is the far-left Democrats doing a series of things I've made several videos about where they're clamoring about how they need free speech and how, why aren't the free speech crew coming to defend them? You have some journalists saying the intellectual dark web won't speak up in defense of the free speech when they criticize Israel. No. I don't think you realize what's actually happening. Many of us defend free speech, and I've said it numerous times. Linda Sarsour, Ilhan Omar, you have a right to free speech. I will defend that, absolutely. But I still think you're anti-Semites. And I want to explain why. A lot of people have said, what Ilhan Omar said isn't anti-Semitic. I don't care what you think it is or it isn't. Other people have said it is. I don't care what your interpretation of what she's saying is. Other people have said it is. It seems like the left doesn't seem to understand other people exist. And when I mean left, I mean like the fringe elements of the mainstream left that are taking over. I don't mean everybody, but it seems like they don't understand other people have feelings. Other people have desires. Not everyone is an evil villain. So what happens? They demand you remove free speech from some, and then when people challenge them, they say, oh no, heavens. But let's talk about why they're anti-Semitic, okay? Yes, Ilhan Omar said several things that cropped us. They got really close to grazing over anti-Semitism. She was getting really close to these tropes. And the left says, but it's not fair, it's criticism of Israel. Oh, well, let's talk about how that's not the case and how Ilhan Omar's allies and other members of the far left Democrats are actual anti-Semites and support this messaging. Let's start with this, the Daily Caller. Linda Sarsour explains how she influenced Democratic leadership to scrap original anti-Semitism resolution. Oh, Linda Sarsour, one of the prominent organizers of the Women's March that was outed for being overtly anti-Semitic and believing fringe anti-Jewish conspiracy theories? You mean to tell me that there are people aligned with the Democratic Party who hate the Jews? How is that surprising to anybody? Now, if you listen to mainstream media all day, you probably don't hear this, but Linda Sarsour, Tamika Mallory, and others, yes, the New York Times, okay, I should walk that back because it was the New York Times that picked up the story after Tablet Magazine reported it, that these people believe fringe anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. And then you had Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Knowing this, she spoke at the Women's March. Makes you think, doesn't it? Cortez and Sarsour then come to the defense of Ilhan Omar, who's repeatedly accused of being an anti-Semite. Women's March co-founder Linda Sarsour explained Friday how she and other left-wing organizers influenced the final language of the anti-hate resolution that passed the House Thursday night. The resolution initially launched as a rebuke exclusively against anti-Semitism, following remarks made by the far-left candidate Ilhan Omar. It was later broadened to include all forms of bigotry. Sarsour in her video took credit for convincing House Democratic leadership for expanding the language of the resolution to include condemning all forms of bigotry. And then you have this, that's basically what they say. The Women's March co-founder attacked House Speaker Nancy Pelosi last Tuesday for initially allowing the anti-Semitism resolution, saying in a Facebook post, Nancy is a typical white feminist, upholding the patriarchy, doing the dirty work of powerful white men. God forbid the white men are upset. No worries, Nancy, to the rescue to stroke their egos. Democrats argued with one another last Wednesday over the resolution's language. Washington Democratic Rep. Pramila Jayapal, the Progressive Caucus's leader, did not want Omar's name in the resolution. While a number of Jewish members reportedly pushed to include it, ultimately the resolution omitted Omar's name. There was a Republican who pointed out, when Steve King made his stupid statements, they called him out, they passed a resolution, and they removed him from his committees. Ilhan Omar says over and over and over again. Let me be clear, for those that might not be familiar, I know if you've watched me talk about this before, forgive me, but for those that aren't familiar, one of the first comments that was called into question was when Omar said that Israel was hypnotizing the world. I get it. You know, is it necessarily anti-Semitic? It's kind of because it plays into an old trope from like World War II era about Jews hypnotizing people. You start with that as your framework and people say, whoa, what are you trying to mean by that, right? Are you being anti-Semitic? But then she makes foreign allegiance comments. She makes it's all about money comments. And people say, you know, the comments you're making are like getting really close to like grazing these tropes. You're not talking about policy. You're not talking about your direct opposition to the funding. You're talking about this specific country and people in specific ways. Now, in and of itself, I can say, I get it. Maybe she's just critical of Israel. A lot of people are. Then you have Linda Sarsour. Well, if you read the New York Times, you know she's an anti-Semite. She believes in fringe conspiracy theories. Okay, she's the one who got this bill changed to protect Omar because she's an anti-Semite. Ocasio-Cortez spoke at her event. They're all friends with each other. But there's more than that. Let me read this last quote. They say, according to Sarsour on Friday, she and her fellow organizers worked behind the scenes to change the original intent of the non-binding resolution by the end of the week. Friends, our supporters, you know the Women's March, we're going through some rough times. And if you know anything about this past week, I'm going to give you some ideas of what we did this week. So many of you know that our sister, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, was under attack. Okay. The Women's March is being dragged by literally everybody. Everybody because of anti-Semitism. Because Tablet Magazine outed them for pushing anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. They're now calling Ilhan Omar their sister. They're now calling on them to defend her against accusations of anti-Semitism. We have a known anti-Semite defending another accused anti-Semite and calling that accused anti-Semite their sister. Well, it gets worse. Let's talk about Rashida Tlaib. This is an article from The Resurgent. I don't know what The Resurgent is, but take this for what it is. I don't want to say it's not rated and I'm not familiar with the outlet, but they do highlight some Instagram posts which are publicly available. They say, Rashida Tlaib follows viciously anti-Semitic Instagram account. Now, you may be saying, maybe Rashida Tlaib, she's just concerned about Israel policy, right? Maybe she's actually concerned about, Israel and the Palestinian conflict. And as a Palestinian woman, she's obviously upset over the conflict. And it's not about the Jewish people, is it? Well, let's take a look at some of these. Oh my God. This is an account called Free Palestine that Rashida Tlaib follows. You want to tell me now that these far left members of the Democratic Party are not anti-Semitic? Well, they're allies, sisters of the Women's March. They repeatedly make comments that people are questioning whether or not they're anti-Semitic. Then Sarsour gets a bill changed that calls out the anti-Semitism, deflects away from the actual challenge, and then you see this. This is an Instagram account followed by Rashida Tlaib. Yes, I kid you not, it's a picture of a rat with the Star of David on it. Okay, how many Republicans are overtly anti-Semitic? There are probably some, but very few, and the ones that speak up and say offensive things, they get destroyed. How many Democrats are anti-Semitic? Too many. A lot of people tell me, oh, but Tim, when it comes to the left and the right, the left is concerned about Israel. No. I know these people. I know people on the far left. When Tablet Magazine and the New York Times said the Women's March founders don't like Jewish people pushing conspiracies, that is the left. That is the left. It is not unique to either fringe element. They are weird people. Now we have this. My God, this is crazy. Look at this. You'd find this on 4chan, but this is an account followed by Rashida Tlaib, a Democrat. You want to tell me that the New Democrats? Oh, this is fantastic. This is where it gets really good. Rashida Tlaib, I'll say this, is accused of following this account, okay? We'll put it that way. I'll try and be lighter on this because this account is overtly anti-Semitic. Rashida Tlaib is a Palestinian, critical of Israel, and she has this here. It says, to learn who rules over you, simply find out who you are not allowed to criticize, and they quote Voltaire. Actually, this quote actually comes from a white supremacist, and it's being posted by Free Palestine. So I wonder if they point that out. They also accuse the Rothschild-Israel occult connection. This account followed by Rashida Tlaib. Let's see what they say in the beginning. Rep. Rashida Tlaib's official Instagram account follows a page which depicts Jews as rats, accuses Jews of being perpetrating the 9/11 attacks, compares Israel and Nazi Germany, and portrays Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sucking the blood of Palestinian children, among other horrifically anti-Semitic posts. The story was first reported by Ashley Ray Goldberg at the Capital Research Center. Some of the below images from Instagram user Free Palestine 1948, the account followed by Tlaib, are very disturbing. And so you know what? Let's just skip through these crazy ones. If you want to criticize a president, a leader, a prime minister, I can understand that. But putting the Star of David on a rat, comparing Netanyahu to Israel, saying that Zionists is different from Israel and putting stars on rats. So I'm going to walk past that one. Saying that the Jews did 9/11. This is insane. This is a fringe anti-Semitic conspiracy theory account, and then you have it all coming together. So, look, I don't like playing the guilt by association game, okay? People like to point out, well, Tim, you once interviewed someone to claim that I'm friends with people. That's ridiculous. But let's talk about this. Who has repeatedly gotten the back of Rashida and Ilhan? Sarsour, Ocasio-Cortez. Who spoke at the Women's March? Ocasio-Cortez. And Tablet New York Times reported this. We know. They are anti-Semites. combine all of these things. Rashida Tlaib following this account with all, like, literally, listen, can I just point, like, when you put the Star of David on a rat, are you going to try and claim these people are not anti-Semites? That is absolutely insane. It's not about guilt by association. It's about grains of sand making a heap. And at a certain point, you have to call them out. I do not like bigotry. I do not like hate speech. I do not like anti-Semites. I do not like racists. Okay? I am willing to call them out. But when we look at our electoral system, you have Steve King, and I have no problem saying, fuck that guy. He said dumb shit. No problem. And they threw him out. But then you have Ilhan Omar, and I'm saying, yes, fuck that shit too. Are they going to throw it? No. I get inundated with messages from people on the left saying, Tim, it's different. It's different. Great. How many times do I have to see this for you to try and claim that your hate speech is different from their hate speech? You know what? Take it. I'm done. You can tell this stuff really pisses me off. Yes, I am a lefty. I do not like bigots and hate speech, but I do believe in free speech. So I'll end by saying you have every right to be a monster. You have every right to say these horrible, offensive things and follow these accounts and defend people who say these things by all means. But don't be surprised when you pass these rules, when you say hate speech should be banned, and then it comes for you. End of story. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m.